Pardon?
Brilliant, brilliant. How are you doing today, Femi?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Feeling fabulous? In good company?
Indeed.
Oh, look. Okay, excellent, excellent.
Nice to see you again, Femi.
Nice to see you.
Congratulations on your mainstream TV broadcast. I'm sure you'll be collecting Golden Globe Awards or whatever it is, the equivalent thereof. Or...
I'm just hoping it gets a good reception.
Yeah.
Greetings.
Yes. Abu.
Yes, brother Lee. Yes, Minister. Yes, Hakeem. Yes, Charmaine. Yeah. Femi, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, man. It's out. You've done it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Indeed.
Well done.
All these years later.
And brother Minister, nice to see you, sir.
Yeah.
I hear you've been creating waves.
Oh yes, big waves.
Big waves.
Big waves.
Everybody getting all bent out of shape.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. So what I'm going to do, welcome everybody, welcome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the trailer, and then Brother Hakeem's going to introduce our speakers, okay?
When I got into Oxford, there were more old Etonians in my year than black students like me. It was here I began to plan a journey to research the imperial history they didn't teach at school. What will I find out? Niger. The UN says it's the world's least developed country. I'm relieved to have a military escort. They tell me that because I'm English, I may as well be white.
My name is Femi. I've come really to find out more about the history of colonialism.
This national highway follows the exact route of the French colonial massacres.
Depuis des années, depuis que j'étais petit, je prenais cette route. La plupart ignorent l'histoire de cette route.
I discovered the savagery at the heart of Western civilization.
Da kasan aya yanke shanu wuri na baki, haka yana wuri yayi baki.
Ils ont tué plus de 50% de la population.
This is typical of Europeans in Africa at the time. The British in Sudan, the Germans in Namibia, the Belgians in Congo. What made them believe African lives were so expendable? This supremacy still haunts our modern world. You can only be free for a bright future if you are free from the past.
Greetings and welcome, everybody. This is an exclusive roundtable discussion which precedes the broadcasting of the premiere of the documentary African Apocalypse, which was co-written and directed by Rob Lemkin. It'll be broadcast tonight, Saturday, the 22nd of May at 9:30 on BBC Two, but it will also be available on the BBC iPlayer after the broadcast. So we have special guests with us this evening, an exclusive panel for our roundtable discussion. We have Femi Nylander, who's a co-writer, narrator, and lead in African Apocalypse. He's also a campaigner and activist. How you doing, brother Femi? You okay?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. We also have Student Minister Abdul-Hakeem Mohammed, who is the European Regional Representative of the Honourable Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. How you doing, sir? You good?
I'm doing very well. Greetings to you and greetings to all of the other panel members.
Thank you. We also have Lee Jasper, who is the former Senior Policy Advisor on Equalities to the previous Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone. He's also a social and political activist. How you doing, Lee?
Doing fine. Big shout out to the panelists and those watching online from around the world.
Thank you, sir. And last but by no means least, we have Akil, who is the co-chair of the Global African Congress UK. He is a community activist and reparations activist. How you doing, brother Akil?
I'm well, brother, and thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
It's an honor and a pleasure. So tonight's discussion, tonight's roundtable, tonight's event has been put together by Sister Priscilla Egwe of the New Black Film Collective, Sister Charmaine Simpson of Black History Studies, and myself, Brother Hakeem of Black Starline. I'd like to now hand over to Sister Charmaine, who will take you into proceedings of the roundtable discussion. How you doing, Sister Charmaine?
I'm very well, thanks. Feeling fabulous and in good company today. So thank you everybody for taking part in this roundtable. I am going to start off by asking Brother Femi just to give us a brief introduction to the background surrounding the film.
Yeah, so the film really has been years in the making, and as Brother Hakeem said, it's the result of a collaboration between myself and Rob Lemkin, the director. And we decided to go to Niger and travel the road where these colonial massacres happened, and that happened exactly at the same time as the book The Heart of Darkness was being written, and try and change The Heart of Darkness slightly. So The Heart of Darkness is from the European perspective, and it's one of the big criticisms of it, as we know from Chinua Achebe, is that it centers this Marlowe character and doesn't let the Africans themselves speak, and tries to be anti-colonial in a very European and white way. Whereas what we do is we allow a voice to the people of Niger to really tell their story directly, a story which has been not only ignored for many, many years, but also actively covered up by the French, as many of these colonial atrocities were.
Okay, excellent. So thank you for sharing that. So Minister Abdul, the film African Apocalypse shows aspects of the legacy of slavery and colonization, and that still haunts us today. What direction do we need as a community to go into self-repair?
I think and thank you for the question, Sister Charmaine. I think as Brother Femi did, I think it's instructive to all of us who are desirous of bringing justice to the untold millions of our people who lost their lives during this era of colonization. Brother Femi went on a journey and he listened to the children of our ancestors who suffered in Africa directly. So he had to have left there with a connection that he did not have prior to going. And I think based upon investing in oneself to go to the lands where our people suffered and to speak to the survivors, if you will, the lineage of those who are survivors of those who were massacred, I think it's a very important part of our journey. Because if we don't get the connection right, then people standing up, speaking about reparations won't really have the kind of connection that is needed from the soul, from the heart, you know, and intellectually. So I really want to commend Brother Femi, because I believe what we need, Sister Charmaine, today is for our people to have a greater connection, and rather than just traveling to Africa to see the progress that Africa is making, or to the Caribbean to see the progress that the Caribbean is making, we need to go on a soul searching mission before we start looking at development. And that's the trajectory in which the documentary took. And it was very humbling for me. I really felt very connected to the work that was done.
Excellent, thank you. And then to Brother Akil, okay. I've got a question for yourself, brother. What does true reparations look like?
True reparations starts first and foremost with identifying oneself and being clear about one's identity from a place of having a historical trajectory. So we didn't just appear on the planet when we were born. We haven't just appeared on the planet as a consequence of 400 years of enslavement and colonialism. We have a trajectory of experience going back over millennia. And so the infrastructure of human society today is based upon our legacy. And so there's something about, it starts at the point of recognizing who we are, that we are we have full sovereignty that has been given to us by our creator. That's the starting point. So number one is self-worth and self-respect and self-value in the context of realities. Now, a critical part of that reality is our relationship to ourselves and then our relationship to others. And a critical part of that relationship that we have with others is around this construct, this falsified construct called race. And this falsified construct called race divides people up into two categories, black and white. And so this falsified concept, I feel, has been really illuminated with great clarity by Femi's documentary, which clarifies the fact that there are two distinct experiences people have. Driving along that road of Niger, what is picked up on is that people's life chances today have been depleted as a consequence of slaughter, human slaughter through colonialism. And I think reparations today, as Brother Minister Mohammed has said, is about those connections and us making the connections between ourselves as well as recognizing what has disconnected us. And what disconnects us is the issue of race and also the issue around our sovereignty, our connection to land. So as a Pan-Africanist, the primary marker for identity and historical trajectory is that landmass, the continent of Africa. So we had the Black Power movement in the 60s, which identified the fact that you can't just be demeaning black as bad. We must recalibrate the way we refer to blackness. Pan-Africanism is emerged along the lines of we need a geopolitics, and that geopolitics is in having a cohesive and strong African continent. And so our connections to the African continent are critical to us having a concept of ourselves in the context of a global race dynamic political economy. So the starting point for reparations is recognizing who we are, our value, our import in human society, and how we relate to the rest of the world. So identifying as an African comes as number one.
Excellent. So thank you for your contribution. So moving on to Brother Lee Jasper, you've been on this road for a long time, longer than I've probably been alive. And how would you encourage people to get involved in the cause? Because you've been walking this journey a long time. And yeah, so let people know, how can people get involved in the cause?
Look, people often ask me, and thank you, Sister Charmaine, people often ask me, how do I maintain the course after so many years and the battles that I've had at various levels and the attacks from various quarters? How do I sustain that? Well, there's a couple of things. One is a strong family base is absolutely essential to withstand the rigors of Black leadership. But the other one is knowledge of my culture. I'm an African that stands on 10,000 years of African history. Of whom really should I be afraid? Nobody at all. That provides me with all of the insight and the motivation to be involved in the movement. And people who wish to become involved in the movement mustn't do so in a sort of tokenistic way with stylized representations of a sort of Hollywood Black Power aesthetic. They must deep dive and sheep dip themselves into the rich culture of Africa. So knowing the continent helps them to understand more about themselves, brings their true African authenticity to the fore, and allows them to have the kind of resilience they will need to become involved in the space. But the first point of entry is surely an inquiring and acquiring an inquisitive mind, and one that questions the current predominant narrative of the African continent and the African globally, which seeks to dehumanize us removes us from our rightful place in terms of our God-given humanity, and which seeks to mask over the imperialist wolves who are forever eating the profits and the resources out of Africa. So I think that an inquiring mind is a starting point, but a commitment to learn and to study has to be the point of entry for people wishing to support the movement and the reparations movement in particular.
And thanks for that, because that's why Black Issue Study existed, because we recognize that education is key. Education is very powerful. And Malcolm X says, before you mobilize the people, you need to educate them why they should be mobilizing and going behind the cause. And our history is so vast, and it's just amazing. And that's what keeps me going on this journey, because our history is just amazing. And we also have to give thanks to people such as the New Black Film Collective for actually mobilizing us Black film exhibitors and professionals to put on these events and support these events as well. So going to come back to Femi. Femi, why is it important that people support and watch this film at 9:30? Why is it so important?
I think it's important because, and remember, if you miss it at 9:30, you can always watch it on the iPlayer, because it will be available on the BBC iPlayer.
No, watch it at 9:30.
But try and watch it at 9:30, indeed. I think it's important because for two reasons. One, and it's on BBC, so obviously a lot of Europeans and people of European ancestry will be watching it. They need to know their history, and obviously it's British people watching about the French, but it's about the idea of European colonialism. And even though it's a French story and it's a French officer, this same stuff happened in Kenya with the Mau Mau. The same stuff happened all over the British Empire, and it happened with the Germans, with the Herero people in what is now called Namibia. This is a story about European colonialism and European brutality in the colonial period. And so I think that they need to watch it for that reason. And I think that as the other panelists have said today so far, we also need to know our own history, and we also need to come from an understanding the journey we have taken to get to where we are today. And this is part of it, and it's not the beginning of it. African history did not start with slavery, it didn't start with colonialism, but it's part of it. And so that's why I'd say it's important for everyone to see this film, because it's a film which is telling a story which is being hidden. And I don't think anyone would say that it's not imperative for everyone to learn about World War II or the Holocaust or all these things, but this is just as big a bit of history and just as awful a bit of history as either of those things. And so it's imperative that everybody knows about the African Holocaust, and it's imperative that everybody knows about what happened to our people. And I think that this film is only one story which needs to be told of many, many, many stories, and hopefully we're coming to a stage in which more stories like this can end up on mainstream television, being told and being understood without being whitewashed or watered down.
Excellent, excellent. Talking about making history, we can't not talk about the historical movement and the historical victory that Minister Abdul-Hakeem Mohammed, Brother Akil, and many other leaders were involved in. So, Minister Abdul-Hakeem, can you give us a 2-minute summary of your recent, I know it's going to be hard, but a 2-minute summary of your recent historical victory, because people need to hear that.
Now, you know that's not fair to put 2 minutes on.
I know.
120 seconds, Charmaine, come on.
I know you can do it.
It took us 4 years.
Yeah, I know.
But just to summarize, we were blessed on May the 10th to receive a declaration from a High Court judge stating the fact that Lambeth Council and the Metropolitan Police were wrong to try to prohibit and restrict us as Black people, African people, gathering in Kennington Park to hear a live message from the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan on August the 5th, 2017. The judge affirmed that Lambeth and the Met breached our human rights. And really, it gave us a chance as Black people to really check ourselves, because had we not challenged them, had we not fought them in an intelligent way, not in a rabble-rousing, jump up, make up a lot of noise on the radio kind of way, as many of us like to do, just make a lot of noise but have no substance. We went after the substance and left others to make the noise. And as a result of going after the substance and challenging these powers, you know, and overcoming their intimidating processes, you know, during the period of time we were trying to have mediation with Lambeth Council specifically. The police thought they were so above sitting down with us, they didn't even turn up to mediation. So in having a discussion with Lambeth, they were of the vibe, look, just settle for us apologizing to you, Minister Hakeem, and the other 33 claimants, but we're not going to apologize to the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we got up from the table and said, if you're not going to apologize to the man who's called us out of darkness into light, called us out of ignorance, you know, into intelligence, called us out of immorality into morality, then we've got nothing to discuss. So we left the table, and they, you know, when someone's walking away, you know, sometimes people like to say something as you're walking away. They said, well, if we go to court and you lose, you're going to have a 6-figure bill at your door. And the idea was to try and intimidate us and to threaten us. And our response to them was the same. Well, if you lose, you're going to have a 6-figure bill. So we weren't intimidated by their threats. So we continued on to court, and by God's grace, we were able to cause them to relent on their desires to defend. Because remember, we were the claimants and they were the defendants. We took them to court. Do you understand? We weren't fighting against, you know, trying to ward them off. We called them out to justify their actions. And by God's grace, we were successful. But if I could just circle back also, Sister Charmaine, with 30 seconds on the question you asked, Brother Abdul-Hakeem, in regards to what's the starting point in regards to the claiming of reparations. The Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us, you know, we have to assess the damage that Europeans have done to us first and foremost. Because you can't say, okay, we need this done, that done, and you haven't done a detailed analysis of the damage their presence has done since we have come into contact with them. And how do you repair the damage first and foremost of somebody being robbed of their name, their language, their culture, their religion, connection to their God? So these are the fundamental principles. It has nothing to do with finances in the first instance, apart from us being given institutions to repair the psychological, the educational, the spiritual damage that was done. And the subject matter, Sister Charmaine and others, that the Honourable Louis Farrakhan was scheduled to address on the 5th of August 2017 was, what does Europe owe us in regards to reparations? And he said, if you do a summary of the damage you've done, you owe us everything. You owe us everything. So there's no monetary number you can put on us. You owe us everything. You have to just walk into the sea and disappear and leave everything on the planet to us if you really are serious about paying what is outstanding. So all of that to say, Sister Charmaine and others, this is why I'm reiterating, we have to be careful of those who are putting themselves forward as those who are negotiating on our behalf when it comes to this serious issue. Because there are some who would be willing to accept a sum that is so unacceptable to us as a people. And based upon the documentary we're going to see at 9:30, Femi went on a journey to show, how do you repair all of the loss of life? How do you quantify over 100 million of us losing our life? Like what, how do you quantify that? You can't put a figure on it. You have to look at now territory. You're following me. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to give some context to that. Because we've got Europeans, we've got our people who look like us all over Europe and the Caribbean and still in Africa being called Cristiano Ronaldo. People are naming their babies nowadays, Eduardo, you know, so there's a lot of damage that needs to be tackled, but we can start first by restoring name, culture, religion, and connection to the Most High Living God.
Excellent. And this is why we need to watch this film. So I'm going to hand back to my esteemed brother Hakeem, to end the session today. So let everybody know what the next steps are from today. Are you muted? Yeah.
Thank you, Sister Charmaine. So once again, this roundtable discussion was brought to you by the New Black Film Collective, Black History Studies, and Black Starline. So please thank our panelists, Brother Femi Nylander, Minister Abdul-Hakeem Mohammed, Lee Jasper, and Akil. And please also thank Sister Priscilla Egwe of New Black Film Collective, who was the brainchild of helping to put this together. So enjoy the broadcast, the premiere broadcast of African Apocalypse on BBC Two tonight at 9:30. And if you just so happen to miss, but really not miss it, but you want to watch it again, you can watch it again on BBC iPlayer. Please spread the word. This roundtable discussion will be available also after the broadcast. It will be sent out. If you want to get involved in the cause, then please look up Lee Jasper, please look up Global African Congress, please look up the Nation of Islam, European Regional Headquarters on all social media platforms and get in contact with them. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So also get in contact with Black History Studies and check us out as well. And also look at all the amazing work that all of our speakers on this platform are doing. And all of them are doing amazing work. Even you, Brother Hakeem, as well. I've got to big you up as well. As you know, I love you like cooked food. So yeah, all of you are doing some amazing work here. I want everybody to switch over now to BBC Two. Grab your drink, grab a snack, and sit down with your pen and paper and write down what you're seeing as well. Because that is a lesson that we're doing. This is and learn the lessons of this as well. And yeah, we are going to be doing some more events around this to actually pick the bones apart and actually get to the root cause of what we're seeing in this documentary. So wonderful. So good night, everybody. Over to BBC Two and enjoy the documentary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with some more of my face for the next hour and a half. You've not seen enough of me tonight.
All right, then. Good evening, everybody. Take care.
And
switch over to BBC Two.
Yes, man. Great work, Brother Femi. I really, really enjoyed watching the documentary. I mean, great work. And I just wish going forward, when you want to do these things, that we can be in touch so that we can contribute from the Nation of Islam in any way, shape, or form. Even if it's just helping you with some transportation when you get to where you're going, or, you know, a couple of nights in a hotel room, or taking you to the airport so that you can, you know, get on your flight safely, or having somebody accompany you whilst you're there. You know, anything we can do to support you, let us know. Because what you did, I mean, you brought tears to my eyes, the fact that you went on a journey and you enriched your soul and you documented the enriching of your soul. And you heard from the mouths of the descendants of those who suffered and those who are the surviving relatives who have kept the stories of their ancestors. And those young girls, with what they were articulating, brother, for you to be physically present, to hear that and to process it and record it and share it with us, I am eternally grateful to you for doing that. And I would wish more of us would go on those kind of journeys and document them and bring them back, because that is a transformative process in which you went on. As Muslims, you know, we're required to go to Mecca and make pilgrimage and make Hajj. But pilgrimage is not going to Mecca and walking around a black stone. Pilgrimage really is going to the deep recesses of the suffering of our people and walking around the survivors who are connecting us to the ancestry of our people. So you made a pilgrimage when you went to Nigeria, brother, and you connected with the soul of our people, which qualifies you to speak on behalf of our people, as opposed to, as I said before, all of these jump up people who just read a few books and all of a sudden they're scholars and they're prophets and they're messengers.
I'm about to jump up now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we have to jump over now. So good night, everybody. So you take care.
So take good
All right then. Take care.
Enjoy the film, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.